African Pharmaceutical Network is about. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're delighted to have you join us today. Just very briefly, in terms of rules of engagement for today, as you join in, please, we urge you to keep your mics muted at all times. We will give you an opportunity to be able to unmute and ask questions or be able to contribute to today's conversation. But until then, I would request and beseech you to keep your mics muted. Secondly, if you can, please, as much as possible, keep your videos also turned off unless you are actively contributing, but we would only encourage that the speaker for the day, Odhiambo David, and myself have our videos on for today. Thirdly, in terms of how to engage, feel free at any point during today's conversation to type your questions, to type your comments in the chat, and we'll be able to quickly pick it up and be able to share them with our speaker for the day. Without much ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow me introduce our speaker for the day, Dr. Peter Mbwiri Ikimati. Dr. Peter Mbwiri Ikimati comes to us with a wealth of experience of over 20 years in the pharmacy space, having graduated from the University of Nairobi in 2000 with a bachelor's degree in pharmacy. He holds a master's degree in pharmaceutical sciences with management studies from the Kingston University in London and a doctorate in health sciences with a specific focus on targeted drug delivery systems from the Aston University in the UK. He's an associate fellow of higher education. Briefly about his career and how that has then progressed to where he is today. So he started off, initially started work with the MOH as a pharmacist at Mbagathi up to the year 2005, where he joined the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. At Mbagathi, he was very instrumental and among the team that they did the pilot for initiation of highly active antiretroviral therapy to enable HIV positive patients and clients access antiretrovirals in Mbagathi in public hospitals. All right. He's also remembered within that division for having been part of the team that built the pharmacy department, and he rose to the level of superintendent pharmacist. Dr. Mbwiri has a wealth of regulatory experience, having served in various capacities within the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. He has been instrumental in initiating reforms on medicines evaluation and registration regionally at East African Community. He's also worked as a consultant with the WHO pre-qualification team that was formerly known as the WHO pre-qualifications program. He is the founding and outgoing chairperson of the Evaluation of Medical Products Technical Committee of the AMRH. Dr. Mbwiri is currently the Chief Principal Regulatory Officer, Product Evaluation and Registration at the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, and has been overseeing all the Pharmacy and Poisons Board regulatory functions on behalf of the Chief Executive Officer towards achieving WHO Maturity Level 3 from May 2021. He has interest in research, and I might as well add that he's quite published. So he has an interest in research as well as in clinical trials and analytical methods. With those very, very many words, team, allow me welcome our speaker for the day, Dr. Mbwiri. Karibu, Daktari.
Thank you, Dr. Kelvin and Dr. David. It's a pleasure being invited to speak to this group today or tonight. I really am humbled by that introduction, and I'll seek and I'll wish to enable young pharmacists and young scientists to grow through their careers. Thank you. So Dr. Kevin,
Yes, Doc.
So maybe you can lead me on the areas that we need to discuss.
Yes. So, Doc, maybe let's start off with you just describing how your career has been progressing, starting off. I know I've briefly talked about what you've done in this space so far, in the pharmacy space, but briefly, if you could walk us through what your journey has been like from the point of graduation. And I know that the dynamics are a bit different based on different markets, given the audiences that are joining us, but if you could walk us through what your journey has been like.
Well, as you said, I graduated in the year 2000 and did my internship, and very good teachers, and some of them very senior in government today. And Dr. Tom Menge was one of my mentors at Kenyatta Hospital, Kenyatta Hospital. Yeah, and from there, I moved on to Bagathi District Hospital, where I became up to a superintendent pharmacist. It was quite some work, really. I learned a lot in terms of management and administration, of course, in terms of hospital pharmacy. And we were the first team to the government used the Bagathi Hospital to pilot the provision of highly active antiretroviral therapy in the Republic of Kenya. Remember the antiretrovirals that time, I don't know by that time whether you guys were there. What was there is the antiretrovirals were very, very, very expensive. Very few people could afford, and they were mainly in the private hospital. So we were the first hospital to pilot that, and that was in partnership with MSF. It was MSF Belgium, the Medecins Sans Frontières Belgium. NASCOP was also a partner. The CDC also helped, and AMREF was also there. There was a lot of training, and we first went through the training, and we were able to establish this mechanism for provision of the highly active antiretroviral therapy in the Republic of Kenya, with Bagathi being the pilot. And by the time I was leaving, we had 7,000 patients placed on those antiretrovirals by the time I was leaving in 2005. It was quite a journey. And from there, in the National Regulatory Authority, that is the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, I've really grown from being an officer in the, initially we used to have in the assessment, I remember assessment of dossiers is a scientific business. So what normally used to be there is the PPB staff, me included, we used to be the secretariat to the committees that would discuss the dossiers with and of course look at whether whether the approvals would recommend for approval of registration of the medicines, or of course rejection. And here we used to have the eminent professors and doctors in the teaching fraternity, and mainly that was the University of Nairobi. Of course, we used to have pharmacists and medical doctors that were lecturers at the University of Nairobi. And also at that time, we used also to do assessments of veterinary medicine. So we had also lecturers from the Kabete Institute of Veterinary Medicine. And really with time, what happened is that the board now realized there were so many applications, and the board of directors thought it wise to have internal capacity to do some of this work. And that's how we benefited. I think I was in the third group of students, of staff that was sent for training. And some were sent out of the country, and others would be sent to University of Nairobi. So we used to have a balance out of the country and within the country. And really, we got a lot of people with master's degrees. So myself, I was sent in 2008 in Kingston University, London, for the master's in pharmaceutical sciences with management studies. And this year, in that university, I gained a lot of expertise and knowledge in terms of the focus really was pharmaceutical technology with a lot of analytical methods, and that is instrumentation. We call it instrumentation. We did statistics. We did medicines development. We did genetic engineering. We did the other course. We did quite a lot, and we also did financial management. And with financial management is kind of accounting, so that you'd know your financial models, how would you make returns and all that. But that was unadded, and we do the finances really during Saturday and Sundays. The rest of the week would be the area for pharmaceutical science. So, and with this, we were able to, I was able to really get a lot of knowledge. I amongst the best students with 12 distinctions out of 12 distinctions, and really that was good for me. Then I was taken up as one of the best students to do internship at GlaxoSmithKline, Weybridge, UK. And here we worked on some products, and I can say we brought in some new knowledge on the same product. And that was, by 2009, I was back to the country, and that was in around October. From there, the lecturer who was teaching us genetic engineering, they asked, that was because he was in Aston University earlier, he just requested, he asked, would anyone wish to do their PhD? And I was there, I raised my hand and said, yes, I wanted to do my PhD. And indeed, I applied for the PhD even before I finalized my master's thesis. I was accepted when I was in UK, and before I finished my master's. I think because my coursework was very good, and they accepted me. My first course, I was supposed to do genetic engineering, especially development of vaccines with the technologies that we're seeing today. But that budget of the project was not there. So I went to another, I was given the project where there was funding, and that was now in target and drug delivery system. And that is what I worked on. And I was able to finalize my PhD in 2014. I was able to come up with the invention on develop a technology for having flucloxacillin or beta-lactams, and where you can keep beta-lactams suspended up to 40 degrees for 1 week. So that's a technology that I was able to develop at Aston University, and I was assigned patent rights. Now from there, I came back to Kenya, and indeed from there now, with the knowledge and gained, again, I went to the drug registration, and I was able to, eventually I was made the deputy director for the drug registration department. And that is how I was able to initiate reforms, because I was able to give instructions. From there, in 2015, I went for WHO training, in pre-qualification training in Copenhagen for 1 week. Of course, when you do the training, you also do an exam. And after the exam, I was accepted, or I was taken up the following year as a consultant to World Health Organization from 2016. In fact, from there, I used a lot of expertise in training within Pharmacy and Poisons Board, in-house training, developing regulatory instruments, that is helping the development of rules, helping development of guidelines. I've also, I was taken up by World Health Organization Regulatory Systems Strengthening Program as a consultant for training within Africa. And I've been able to do trainings. I was able to do trainings for IGAD. I have been taken up as a consultant by the USAID to do training to Indian manufacturers, and also been taken up by the USAID also to do training to Rwanda FDA. When Rwanda FDA was establishing, I was one of the trainers in that, and I've done twice the training to Rwanda FDA Yes, really, that's how I have built wealth and regulatory experience, and I've been able to pass it on, not only to the Pharmacy and Poisons Board staff, but also regionally. And as you can see currently, I was elected as the chairperson for Evaluation of Medical Products Technical Committee of the African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization. This is one of the key committees. You should know that AMRH will be transitioning to African Medicines Agency, and it will be located in Rwanda. So we are shaping the policies on how HAMA will be established. We are developing the structure for HAMA. I'm saying I'm outgoing because of other engagements, which I may talk about them later. I'll talk about them later. Yeah, so that has been quite some journey. It has been an 18 years journey in regulatory space. And yes, and unless you want me to talk about something else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ridhai. It's very, I look at your journey and I look at where I am at currently and how far I have a long way to go. But it's quite also inspirational to be able to see how one could start off in this space and then gradually end up in a totally different space, still related. And maybe my follow-up question would be, so I've just done my BPharm, right? Whether it's here in Kenya or I've done it in the UK, and I'm looking at starting off my career and I am very interested in the regulatory space. Are there any entry-level jobs, given that especially, say, for example, in most of our curricula here, the focus is the regulatory aspect is not very clearly spelled out. So are there any entry-level opportunities, and how does someone then get into those spaces at their very early career phase of life?
Thank you, Kevin. For Pharmacy and Poisons Board, we do accept staff from just your bachelor's degree, whether you've regulatory science experience or not, although regulatory science experience gives you some advantage. But considering that in Kenya, we do not have institutions really providing these services, apart from University of Nairobi that partnered with the Pharmacy and Poisons Board and Karolinska University of Poland to provide for masters in pharmacovigilance. Virtually, the other places you would go is to Tanzania, and Tanzania one is not, it's orphaned through Purdue University in the US, and this is not a full-time within that institute. So what I've been working on really for the last few years also, I've been able to work with a lot of partners, and one of the area I was requesting is for establishment of regulatory courses within our universities. I was in talks with one of the development partner, although that did not go through well, but I hope in future that we are able to have support that, especially in public universities or even private universities, to start these courses. It's highly necessary because it's an area that has really grown, and we need people that can be able to perform immediately. They enter the workspace.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you very much. And so it's insightful to know that there would be entry-level jobs at the Pharmacy and Poisons Board here in Kenya. I don't know what your experience is in markets beyond Kenya. Would those opportunities still be available?
In markets beyond Kenya, yes, they would be available, but not at the entry level of just a graduate, an undergraduate. The best thing, what you can do, of course, you get experience within the regulatory, as a regulatory affairs in the industry. You can start from the industry or from the Pharmacy and Poisons Board for you to get jobs outside there. although it's much easier when you're coming from the regulatory authority because of the partnerships and work that go on, most of the people that I see going to these other jobs, quite a number come, I think 60% come from regulatory authorities, but also about 40 or so percent, I can't give a precise figure, but it does, both from industry you can get, and particularly if you are working in a multinational, the manufacturing companies that promote trainings, yeah? If you're working with GlaxoSmithKline, you're well trained. If you're working with any of the big pharma, they do in-house training. When you work with the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, we've also developed a curricula for training of staff, and we usually do induction. In fact, we're doing induction this week for the newly recruited staff. And from there, we've got a self-directed learning system, which is called Ustandi system. So you're able to go to the system and do and study within the department that you've been, you are stationed. If you taken to clinical trials, you'll learn mainly the common courses within, especially the quality management system, the HR matters, but now you focus also on your area on clinical trials oversight, for instance. So we've been able to develop curricula within the Pharmacy and Poisons Board to ensure retention of knowledge, even when people move out of PPB or even when people retire. And this, in future, will also be expanded to universities, just the same way we've expanded the pharmacovigilance to the University of Nairobi. We hope that in the near future, that this knowledge will also be taken to the University of Nairobi. And the good thing is we have quite a number of staff that are also taking our PhD courses. And this will be very good teachers when they can do teaching, even if it's part-time to students within the universities, and it will help our young people to move fast.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. It's quite interesting that the curriculum, I think inventions come, the regulations always catch up with the inventions. And we are seeing this in this case where there's obviously a need for more regulatory affairs professionals out there, yeah? And our curriculum is still, especially in the local context, is still catching up, and the universities are still grappling with adopting that, yeah? But we look forward to a day when this actually becomes part and parcel of the undergraduate training for individuals. I'm curious to know, just for the benefit of our audience here, so is there room for regulatory affairs for someone who did not study pharmacy as their first degree? So let's say we have an MO who is here, or we have another professional in the medical field who's interested in venturing into regulatory affairs. Is there any room for them? And what is that part like? Yeah.
Yes, there is room. Within the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, the majority are pharmacists, and it's because it started and it also regulates the professional pharmacy, and also because the bulk of the staff would be pharmacists. Most of the work is quality assessment, which is done by pharmacists. However, that said, we've developed new job descriptions, and this caters across all the scientists. Yeah, we've got medical doctors that will be high-end in the near future. We've got nutritionists, we've got chemists, people with bachelor's degree in science. We've got people who have done biochemistry, biotechnology, all these courses, anything that has the biomedical engineering for medical devices, nuclear physicists for radiopharmaceuticals. So you can name it, anything that touches of medical products and health technologies. These professionals in the near future will be joining in the regulatory space. And what I can say is when I've worked at the WHO pre-qualification team, we are a group made of medical doctors, made of pharmacists, made of people of chemists. That is the main group. And now, and the reason The bulk again is still pharmacists because most of the work is quality. And then you've got medical doctors would be very useful, especially on efficacy and safety reviews. And that is, even in Kenya, clinical trials oversight, remember, medical doctors are engaged in clinical trial protocols review. And again, also chemists are very good in the active pharmaceutical ingredient section for review of that, because that is what their training is on. So we also have pharmacists who also do the review of the chemistry manufacturing control. That is what is called internationally. We call it in East Africa or Africa active pharmaceutical ingredient section for East. And I believe now, yes, anyone can have a career. Anyone can have a career through that process.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. And in the same line, I have Purity asking, is RA strictly on those, is our regulatory strict on who should do regulatory work? Because she's in certain instances found companies that employ people who do not have pharmacy background, and they train them to do the work, including Form 4 leavers.
No. If you have a Form 4 leaver, that of course is a breach of the rules. And Form 4 leaver cannot do the work of a pharmacist. You've got to have a science base. You've got to be a scientist. And what I can say also, this current government, and of course, with the continuation of the former administration work, we've been working on achieving maturity level 3. I've been in charge of that project for the country achieving maturity level 3, so that we are able to manufacture vaccines for export. And this is something the president really is really keen on. And what I can tell you is to watch this space, that there will be a lot of trainings and a lot of, especially for people that have a background on biotechnology, for vaccine manufacture or biologicals manufacture. So there will be a lot of training, or even pharmacists, because you've got still that background. And one of the roles is that there will be short courses training within universities within Nairobi. I can't say which ones because this project is still under discussion. There will also be training, a kind of apprenticeship within these big manufacturers in Europe, so that you go there and you learn on the job. You learn on the job. That is what we call apprenticeship. But eventually, the same courses now will be taken up to even to master's degree within our local university, so that and that is improving on not only scientists for regulatory science, but also scientists for industry. There isn't much difference really. A regulatory scientist can convert to go to industry as a scientist, or an industry scientist can move to regulatory science because it's the same science. The only difference is that when you go to the industry, you go to also to the nitty-gritties, of course, of doing the work, controlling the GMP. You have to have a very good background on manufacturing practices in addition to your basic or to your regulatory science.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Biok. And the good news is that even with regards to curriculum development, there's been a bit of progress in terms of eventually including this. So it's very good news to hear from you that there are efforts to make sure that the apprenticeship is supported and the ongoing learning is also promoted, both within the local context and beyond. I think there's still a lot of work to be done in that space. And we're privileged to know that you are involved in some of the work that is already ongoing. So thank you for that, for laying that blueprint that I believe, and as APN, we believe would be very instrumental as well in the future of regulatory affairs. I have a question to you with regards to the current training framework that you have at the PPB for the staff. And one of the people in the audience is asking, could this be open to people, individuals who are interested in updating or staying up to date with compliance improvement? Or is this currently strictly just for for PPB staff?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as I said earlier, this is currently strictly for PPB staff. And again, at the inception of this system, we said that it shall be taken out to our sisters and brothers out there to also learn. So it will eventually be taken out for them to learn. Just the same way we took pharmacovigilance from our pharmacovigilance department to University of Nairobi, we are also going to transition that. It's a very new system. We developed it last year. It's still, some modules are still being uploaded. And we are also partnering with the USP, whereby some courses we'll see whether some of the courses from USP can just be uploaded directly to the system and people are able to learn. Yeah. And you get the best. Yeah.
That is excellent. That is excellent news. And as APN, we are always very happy to be able to be part of the stakeholders and very happy to engage with the Pharmacy and Poisons Board in furtherance of this agenda. So we are very glad that there is some effort already being made in that direction. Just a quick question with regards to how do we then upgrade our knowledge? And someone from our audience is asking, would you recommend the Purdue University BRS Master's Program?
Yes, I do. I would recommend. And in fact, I've recommended to several pharmacists who have gone to do Purdue and they're happy. They say, Dr. Thank you so much for recommending this course. I've recommended 5 people. They have done the masters and they're doing very well. Who in PPB, the ones that I recommended to do it, and I can see because I've been supervising them and also been training them that they're doing very well. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Thank you. Thank you for that. And just a question here about registration of products, especially now that the conversation around local manufacturing and the current administration talking about they want to promote local manufacturing. How easy is it to be able to register a product in this market? I don't know how you'll answer that, but yeah.
Well, for registration of locally manufactured products, we've got what we call priority pathway for fast track. And one of the, some of the products that go through that is locally manufactured products. And they are given a leeway to be, their dossier to be evaluated within 6 months. Within 6 months. And then after that, for the foreign manufactured products, we do, I remember for the fast in, fast out, it's 24 months. You can see now that gives you already a quicker access to the market. Of course, for high priority products like antiretrovirals, antimalarials, from whichever, whether they are foreign or not, they are given a higher priority, and especially if they've already gone through the WHO pre-qualification, they're supposed to be registered within 90 calendar days. Of course, as PPB, some years we've not been able to meet these timelines. The reason being the number of the staffing levels. And that is where now with this global benchmarking tool, it has made strong recommendations to the government. And this is what I've pushed. And within this period, I've been able to request for staff, and 29 staff have been employed today. And this is a good thing. We should be seeing reduced turnaround time, so faster timelines. And we'll see that again, what we've really, I've also been instrumental in development of what we call pharmaceutical regulatory information management system in terms of pushing for design of better systems. And of course, we've introduced what we call timelines. We're calling it timestamp. And this is something that will be telling us this is the time that was taken for any particular process, and you're able to measure that. And indeed, what we are going to do, we are going to expose the staff. In fact, we have had a meeting with the there's some institute called SAS, the Center on Innovation Regulatory Science, and they'll be willing to give research scholarships for people that will be able to do research on particular like timelines. How long does it take? What are the regulatory bottlenecks? And that is another area you can do a PhD on. And yes, with this, we've been able, yes, we do fast track. So another thing is with the locally manufactured products, what are the challenges? Not to veer off so much. What are the challenges? What we're looking at, of course, is improving the standards, the quality and safety of the standards of these products. And the PPB with UNINDO, the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Industrialization, we end a program that we call GMP Roadmap that started in 2015 and it was ending in 2018. And this really helped in improving the quality of products, quality of manufacturing. Again, when you have quality of manufacturing, you have better documentation so that you don't have to and fro between the regulator for you to answer queries, really. Because if your dossier is so good, then it should be easier for you to register, because some of the applications you can see, they could even stay for more than 2 years, even after being assessed, because the manufacturers could not fulfill some of the requirements. And one of the areas PPB is working on, of course, is to increase the GMP compliance. And this is in particular with more inspections and more partnership, like with the UNINDO and with industry. And what we're proposing is for the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Trade and Treasury to see on better models of financing industry, so that our industry players don't go out there to get loans at 18% or 13%. It makes it not easy for them to make improvements. And one of what I would propose is that the government comes up with a better financing model whereby people are able to get finances at even 3%, apart from tax exemptions for some of the things. Then the other thing we're proposing is what we call HTA policy within the Ministry of Health. Once that policy is done, there will be carrot and stick, whereby people are motivated. If your products, let's say now for bioequivalent studies, this is a project we want to initiate to whereby products that require what we call bioequivalent studies will be carried out in Kenya at a cheaper cost. And with this, we want to link it to procurement system, whereby, but we have to have a proper HTA assessment policy and procurement laws. And I think with that, it is going to build our local manufacturing capacity very rapidly. Again, remember with the African Union, with the African Medicines Agency, Kenya has to move very fast. Each country has to move very fast, because Kenya, but Kenya in particular, or these big countries, the 6 big countries, and Kenya being one of them, we supply a lot of products out there. We have to move so fast so that we expand our exports in terms of, and our products should be trusted. That is what we are saying. Our products should be trusted across Africa and hopefully going globally, because and as you can see, we have seen some manufacturers that have gone global, like Universal Corporation. This is a very good thing for the country. If we can have more people, more manufacturers doing that and expanding, not even to the global scene immediately, but going regionally, East Africa and the continental level, then I'll be a very happy person, because that means our GDP will be growing. We will have more opportunities for employment, not only for scientists, but also for other cadres, including HR, including accountants, name it, because it's a business. Yes, it's a healthcare business, but it would really broaden employment opportunities, expand our GDP, and also provide us with security. Remember, health is a public health is a security, is a national security issue. And as most of you have seen with COVID-19, anything can happen to a country. So, and that is why we are building capacity for manufacturing of biologicals to ensure that Kenya is resilient if any other epidemic ever occurs, that we should be able to move very fast and than we've done before. And that should be good for our country. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doc. And I think in speaking, you've responded to quite a number of questions as well in the chat. You've mentioned something that is quite a buzz right now, AMA, the African Medicines Agency. It's doing rounds, everybody's talking about it. Would you tell our audience what timelines, if you have that information, are there for operationalizing this, and what opportunities you foresee within this establishment?
Yeah, thank you. As I said earlier, I'm chairing one of the committees of the African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization. The African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization is the one that will be transitioning to AMA. So it's work in progress already. Of course, it has taken quite some time. This discussion started in 2012 with the establishment of regional economic communities. You've heard of the East Africa Community, MRH, ECOWAS. You've heard of Sazibona in the Southern Africa. You've heard of SANDC. You've heard of IGANT. And these are all converging now towards the MRH. And the same structures, not exactly the same structures, but the challenges, the potentials, the strengths that we've gained through the regional economic communities are the ones now we are using at the continental level. I believe that there will be a Director General of AMA before the end of next year. So that is something in discussion by the steering committee. My committee, as Secretariat of AUNDA NEPAD and also WHO, they form the Secretariat, and there is a lot of support. My committee also has partners and support from experts from the US FDA, the European Medicines Agency, BfArM of Germany, and Swissmedic. And you can see how much partners really have come in, both in financial and technical support. And we are establishing mechanisms. Hopefully by next year, there will be robust mechanisms for this committee, the EMPTC, which is the main committee of the AMRH. And below the EMP committee, we are establishing technical working groups. And under the technical working groups is where now the experts, for us as a committee, is to provide policy, but at the technical working group, we want to have experts that will be doing the actual work now, like dossier assessments, inspections, and this will transition to AMA, because once you appoint the Director General, already once you have all these experts, they are the same that will transition now as staff to AMA. Maybe there may be some changes whereby some people, of course, that are, because some of the experts will be coming outside from the continent of Africa, they may be engaged as consultants, but I believe anyone who is within will be a full-time employee. Possibly we may also employ people external to be full-time employee. That is something for discussion in the future. So you can see it's work in progress. It's not like AMA will be established in one day. It's already being established. Yeah, it's already being established. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and what I see, just based on what you've said, is then there's a lot to tap into in terms of where we can plug in as professionals to just make this operational as well as it goes along. There is a question here around radiopharmaceuticals and what the role of regulatory affairs is in that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. For radiopharmaceuticals, this is something, of course, regulation of radiopharmaceuticals in Kenya just started the other day. And I think it was 2 or 3 years ago that staff from the Pharmacy and Poisons Board and the University of Nairobi underwent some training within Kenya by the International Atomic Agency. And of course, that was to look at how do we do regulations. And with this, following this, I've seen also some of our pharmacists have gone out there and have done masters in radiopharmaceuticals. And I know there are 2 pharmacists within KUTTRH that have radiopharmaceuticals. We've got also staff working at Aga Khan. What does PPB, how will the control be? Radiopharmaceuticals really will be controlled as a GXP. Remember, radiopharmaceuticals, the process, we are going to start, or we've already started controlling it as a GXP, but mainly as a GMP activity. So our GMP inspectors and the nuclear authority would inspect the plant to see the nuclear authority with regard to safety or radiation safety, and Pharmacy and Poisons Board with regard to good manufacturing practice. So we are carrying it out currently as a GMP activity. I know in the near future that some of these plants will need to distribute the radiopharmaceuticals to other facilities. And I believe that will be done mainly through drones. So we will be looking at a good distribution practice as well. How does Aga Khan, when it manufactures radiopharmaceuticals, or KUTTRH manufactures these radiopharmaceuticals, and considering the half-life, considering the toxicity, of course, they'll be flown through drones and they can be taken to Kisumu facility, to Isiolo, to Garissa, and also to neighboring countries, Rwanda, Uganda. You can take them within that radius because of the use of the drone technology. So I expect that there will be application for drone technology supply of radiopharmaceuticals soon.
Thank you. Thank you for that talk. And maybe you can speak a little bit about what the role of RA is also in veterinary medicine, or would this be similar to human medicine?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
The role of regulatory affairs in veterinary medicine.
It is similar. It is similar. And most of the countries have the regulator for human medicines or veterinary medicines is the same. They may have just different divisions. However, some countries like UK chose to have it separate. That is, the human medicines regulator is separate, MRH, and then you have another for veterinary. So it's similar. There isn't much difference really, because we are looking at chemistry, it's the same. You're manufacturing the same molecules, really. You're controlling the impurities same way, yeah? Because at the end of the day, you don't want so many impurities going to a cow and you're taking the milk from the cow. It's still your food. Yeah, so it's the same. It's similar.
Okay, and I guess this question is coming from a lot of the buzz and the talk around regulatory affairs right now is more on the human medicine. So I'm curious to know if out there, especially for people who are looking to plug in, if there are spaces where they can actually do this in the non-conventional way, to plug into regulatory affairs. What do you mean
plug in?
Plug in terms of where they can become regulatory affairs professionals in that space, in veterinary medicine.
Yeah, people can. You can be a consultant. You, and not, but currently, what is there is that we have veterinary board that regulates veterinary medicines. There have been a lot of talk about Kenya Drug Authority. In fact, we started with the Kenya Food and Drug Authority. Now we are looking at the Kenya Drug Authority. The Health Act 2017 provides for one single regulatory authority. So I do not know whether eventually they are going to be merged again or they are going to remain as entities as they are. Either way it works. The only thing is to have convergence, especially in terms of control of antimicrobial resistance, yeah, and there must be control. There must be some convergence, yeah. You can either work as a single authority or different authority, but there must be some form of convergence. Pharmacists can work, in fact, they do. Majority of the regulatory affairs doing dossier submission within the veterinary board are pharmacists. If not all of them, yes, they're pharmacists, because at the end of the day, most of the work for developing countries is generic medicines. Generic medicines, you focus on quality part of the dossier. Who have more expertise in quality? It's pharmacists. So when you come also, when you go to the veterinary board, majority of them are pharmacists. Even the workers, they are pharmacists. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doc. And maybe now let's shift the focus more to the training aspect of regulatory affairs. And I have quite a few questions in that regard. So we have someone asking about what your opinion is about the regulatory affairs program at Addis Ababa, the Masters, the Addis University.
Well, I am not aware of that, or I don't have so much info on that, but I believe Addis Ababa is a well-recognized university. So they would be good to go. But one that is really very popular is the one for Purdue University. That is what is very popular. So people can compare the costs also. But I believe once you get a university training, it should be good. Addis Ababa is one of the good universities within the region.
Okay, thank you very much. And there's a similar question here around the bodies within the country or partners within the country that currently are offering or are accredited by PPB to offer regulatory affairs capacity building.
Well, and I think that is for continuing professional development, and I really will not tell how many, but they are there. Yes.
Thank you. And for the benefit of our team here, African Pharmaceutical Network happens to be one of those that are working very closely with the Pharmacy and Poisons Board to do this. Yes, and related to this, Doc, is so we have an individual who's gotten into the space. They're lucky, as you say, they're entry jobs for regulatory affair fellows, right? And so they get into this space and they've been hired, say, for example, by Nairobi Enterprises Limited, just as an example, as a regulatory affairs specialist. They have no background in this. Is there a repository of knowledge or an association of regulatory affairs professionals where they can consult and get knowledge and get guidance in this to help them just start off?
Yeah, I've seen industry. I have formed kind of unions, and I believe part of their work, of course, is mentoring young pharmacists or young scientists. And this includes both for pharmaceuticals and also for medical devices. So if you check on the LinkedIn, if you check in the LinkedIn for Union for Regulatory Affairs in Kenya, you will find them. And one of the pharmacists is a pharmacist called Dr. Karenye. I don't know whether he's the current chair, but I can check for details of the officials and share with you later.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Those are my questions around training. A few questions here emerging around actual practice. The first one is there a mechanism of regulating medical IT platforms like MTBA and other healthcare application systems?
Yes, remember, I don't know, you've seen the Pharmacy and Poisons rules for 2022. We put something here on the issue of electronic pharmacies, and there are also guidelines. It's not really been fully implemented, but yes, there's legal framework, and the board is going to be implementing. But already you've seen there's an hybrid kind of. There's an hybrid, but we've not seen like MyDAWA. It's registered, but we want to have better controls, and that is now how the expansion of the regulatory control through the rules and the current guidelines we hope to see in the near future.
Okay, thank you. And I have a question for you on AI. I think a lot of people are seeing ChatGPT and what have you. So what's your take regarding regulatory affairs and artificial intelligence? How will this help us?
Well, this is something that has come up, and there is a lot of discussion, I think, even at the international level, and this is even between the stringent regulatory authorities and the World Health Organization, and I believe there was a meeting last week on the same. What we are seeing is that the US FDA is introducing artificial intelligence for screening of dossiers. So it's already being applied. So screening of dossiers will be there. Today I was with Professor Stewart, who is the founding member, is the founding partner of the Center for Innovation Regulatory Sciences. And we are going, and the center will be providing some of these tools, especially on their tools called Umbra, is CODOS, and some of them is about risk-benefit analysis. In the near future, we want to have the Pharmacy and Poisons Board analyzing on what are the risk-benefit analysis. And some of these tools are AI, and we'll see if you're bringing your oncology product, what are the, there's a 8-step. I think some of the countries that have already have this is the US FDA with the 5-step process. We've got the European Medicines Agency with the 8-step process. And I think TGA Australia with the 7-step process. We are going to borrow this with the 8-step process, and you're going to introduce and see how the benefit risk analysis for a product, so that we not only link the regulatory aspect, we can also link it with the policy aspect within the Ministry of Health, so that you get the best value in terms of you're not getting a lot of, well, you can't reject a product if it meets the technical criteria, but you can see if I take this medicine, and that is now when you evaluate and this data is available to the HTA assessors, then you'll be able to see how they can use that data to make better use of the resources. So yes, artificial intelligence is coming into play, and Kenya will be also using artificial intelligence in the regulatory science very soon. Another thing that is coming up from the industry is they want to use artificial intelligence in manufacturing operations, and this is something under discussion. We'll see how it goes. It's something under discussion. It's capital intensive, but of course it reduces the mistakes of the human being, whereby it's a continuous manufacturing process. Currently what we have is what would call discrete processes, whereby you do one step of manufacturing in one line, take it to another line. Let's say you do a bulk in one line, you do tableting or granulation in another line, do tableting in another line, and then go for primary packaging in another line, and even secondary packaging. Now, the industry is proposing, what if we do a continuous manufacturing using artificial intelligence? That is another way. How will the GMP inspections be? How will the drug dossier assessment or review be? This is something we are looking, and it's coming not very far away. We may have it very soon. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know in terms of us, the world embracing AI and exploring how we can incorporate it in the regulatory affairs space. I have a question here on personality traits. that are suited for regulatory affairs professionals. Yeah. So would it be someone who's more detail oriented or a big picture thinker? Is it a person or lone wolf, or a bookworm or practical learner?
All of the above. Everyone has their strengths. Yes. With regulatory science is we are keen to details. But when you be taught about or someone teaching you about good review practices, you have to have both aspects of being detailed, but also being able to look at the global picture. One of my mentors within the WHO PQ would say, you need to see the forest first, and then you look at the tree. Yeah? So you don't go so much into details even before seeing the forest. Is it good in the first place? You know, there are some aspects that you look at and see, what am I looking for first? Don't go just into detail. What do I want to see? That is now having the global picture. Then when you see what you want to see and which are the highest risks, now you focus more energy on where the areas that have the highest risk. And of course, the other areas we will review, but I would use most of the energy on areas that I would consider risky. And that is how you become a very good assessor or a good regulator. Lone wolves, really, not really. But there are some people that would be considered lone wolves, but in regulatory science, yes, you need that extreme focus. You need extreme focus, but at the same time, you need to socialize, network, because by socializing and networking, you are getting experience. You'll be asking your seniors, what do you think of this? I did this, what do you think? And you get better ideas, better skills, other than just sticking to yourself. Reading alone does not help you. I may give you knowledge within an hour that you'd read for more than 6 months. So you would need to read, but at the same time, it's good to listen to people that have already done it, because they are telling you what to avoid and you understand it deeper. It's like if you go to manufacturing, you're reading on how to operate fluidized belt drive. How long will it take for you to understand how to run it by reading? And how long will it take you to be shown how to run the FBD? You see, practical skills may be superior in some ways than just knowledge. So, but you need both. You really need both. And that is why you need someone who is able to network with others, being a bit sociable, not too quiet. But I've seen some people that have come very quiet and eventually they're able to network and grow. They're quiet when they're in a crowd, but they are able to be talkative when they are with a small section of people, yeah? And they're also able to learn. So I can say any of the personalities would be able to do well. You just tap to their greatest strengths, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And you've mentioned something that reminds me what my mentor keeps telling me, that you could decide and spend time reading about it, or you could learn it from someone who's already walked that path, yeah? And they'll equip you with skills, practical and relatable to what you actually need to do. And yes, I agree with you that you need to actually get a balance of both, so that you acquire the knowledge and you also then learn from somebody who's done it, and the networking is a key component of that. So another question still around emerging trends. So what are some of the emerging practices in the clinical trial space that regulatory affairs professionals can explore and venture into?
Yeah, thank you for that question. This year, yes. Late last year and early this year, the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, through this project for WHO GBT, we've been able to look at what we call GCP Inspectors Qualification Program. So we've developed some material on that, and we are working now on training more staff. And we want people in the industry also to learn on GCP Currently, Kenya has not been doing GCP inspections, and this is a key area really. To tell you about bioequivalence, clinical trials, bioavailability, you want to see products, for instance, that are taken through oral route that you've got the right dose, the right dose is bioavailable within the system for it to be therapeutically effective. And for bioequivalence, as you know, we're looking at therapeutic equivalence. We're looking at two things, therapeutic equivalence and pharmaceutical equivalence. We've not really been inspecting these, we call them contract research organizations on these bioequivalence studies. Whether Kenya, outside, we don't have any in Kenya. We have many BE studies that have been done outside, but Kenya has never inspected. This is an area that needs to be developed. And we are developing that first by developing internal capacity within the regulatory authority. We would expect to see people being employed once we make it mandatory, and because it's now become mandatory. If you want to manufacture any products locally that requires BE, you have to carry it out. We are doing piloting studies with KEMRI to see on the cost of doing these BE studies, and we are rolling up that manufacturers have to conduct BE studies. They are expensive, but we're going to see. We have worked with KEMRI to see how to strengthen KEMRI as a public entity to be able to carry out this. As a regulator, is really to strengthening the groundwork, and we really move ourselves so that they are able to carry out these bioequivalence studies. And this is an area now you can really benefit on as part of regulatory work. So you can see regulatory work is expanding both for the regulator and people who are in the market. You can go to clinical trial studies, get a job as a clinical trials expert. We are now going into BE, which are smaller type of clinical trials. You'll still be needed there as an expert, and also within PPB as an expert, as an inspector or a reviewer, as an expert of clinical data review. And this we are developing. And this is going to happen soon, by next year, that we shall have possibly KEMRI being the first bioequivalence center in Kenya. So it's something, it's work in progress. And I hope to see it working soon. The other area we're working on is when I was at the EAC, because of course, because of my duties now, I had to remove myself. I've worked for long under the EAC MRH, and we were able to develop tools or regulatory instruments to have API being registered or accepted, but registered. And of course, this includes GMP inspections of the API site. This is the area we want to expand into. And of course, you can see now the work for regulatory affairs is expanding again at the API level, at the BE studies. Again, I would expect my team that we've been working with the GPT. There's something we call pharmacovigilance inspections. And this will be done soon, will be rolled out soon. And to help people in the industry, we will be rolling what we call QPPV curriculum with the University of Nairobi. So keep your ears open, your eyes open. And that program will be rolling soon for people that want to be QPPVs. And it will really help in building capacity. So first, I don't know, I think we're going to start as a postgraduate diploma and move to master's eventually. But you can see there's a lot of work that is going on behind the scenes, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for the benefit of our audience, QPPV, Qualified Persons of Pharmacovigilance.
Yes.
Thank you, Daktari. I have a question around precision medicine. So human medicine's development is advancing into precision medicine, gene therapies, and biotech solutions. Are we positioned to tap into these and advance access for our local markets?
Well, every medicine or every technology that is developed out there eventually finds its way to Kenya. So in terms of having the products, yes, we will have them, but now is the technologies for us to do it within the country. I can see there was some discussion, where was this? And this was in Accra, Ghana. There's a JSM committee on pharmacovigilance. And one of the presentations was done by a South African institute. And they looked at, they've kind of done models. You get the somatic cells and push them to stem cell, and you change them to whatever organ you want. And they did that and changed some to hepatic cells. And the studies they did was the issue of medicines, the various medicines and their efficacy or effectiveness within the various South African subpopulations. What was really intriguing, what they found out is that comparing the data in South Africa population and the data in Europe and these developed countries, what they found out with the European population, tamoxifen was a placebo in 1% of the population. But in Africa, it goes as high as 30%. So, because tamoxifen has to be, it's a prodrug, it has to be converted to work. And what this professor found out that we may be giving placebos to 30% of our population. So, and this study is pharmacogenomics, and I believe pharmacogenomics is a good idea. It can help, it can be a good tool to physicians to see how they prescribe. And generally, we don't have to do precision to an individual, but you can see if you did a study and these individuals are within this community, we can see, we can extrapolate for the purposes of having it be affordable or research being, because you can't, it will be very expensive. You can extrapolate and say, within this population, this is what you've seen. The physician may avoid, like now, for instance, giving tamoxifen. If the study was shown that the population within this region, 30%, this drug was not effective, you may use a different drug. Yes, I can foresee a lot in that. With the gene therapy, as I told you earlier, as my master's, I was doing, I did something on gene therapy, and this was plasmid and the use of the DNA technology, the use of the liposomes, like the liposomes that have been used in the mRNA technology. By the way, my professor was taught by the inventor of the liposomes, and it was really good to work with her, Professor Yvonne Perry. And these technologies, they are there, and well, and for another targeted therapy is it's called the CRISPR, whereby you are kind of slicing problematic genes, and well, it's still experimental. We hope to see, maybe for the treatment of cancer, it might be very effective. Yes, it will be useful. And one, you're making it very effective in terms of you already know what you're targeting, like that gene therapy, there's CRISPR technology, whereby if a gene is at birth, if a gene is known to, before someone is born, at the embryo level, if a gene is known to cause a disease, can you be able to cut off that gene? Can you change that is experimental, and I don't know how soon it may go into use. Yes, and the other technologies that are being developed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. And this is, like you said, what you're sharing with us here, we would spend years to learn. So thank you very much for those insights. As we come towards the end, there is a course known as Quality Assurance and Standardization. Would one be able to qualify as an RA person or practice as an RA person if they had this certification?
I think such a certification is an added advantage. Remember, RA is an expanse, it's a very huge, it's a vast area. So it's an added advantage. It depends on where you want to be. Now, if you want to be an expert in GMP inspections, there are masters in GMP inspections. If you want to be very good in assessments, now this is also very wide because you can do like that targeted drug delivery, you can do pharmaceutical technology, you can do biotechnology, it's very wide. But what you need to do now is learn the regulatory science. You've learned the science, how do we do the regulatory? What is common is the regulatory science, but the basic science, the backbone science, it will depend on where do you want to do. Do you want to be pharmacovigilance? You have to learn something specialized in that area. Yeah, quality assurance scheme could be a very good area, and I believe that would be a very useful thing in like GMP inspections because you would already know how to go about it. But still, it can be applied across. Remember, we want in regulatory, in National Regulatory Authority, we also want quality assurance in decision making. You can apply it also, I believe, yes. You need quality assurance because if you do an assessment, why did you come up with this criteria? And by the way, one of the softwares we are getting, it's called CODOS. We'll be piloting it using our assessors and inspectors, but first the assessors. So you give them 3 or 5 people, same dossier, and tell them to do the evaluation. And you are able now to pick, using that artificial intelligence, once you feed it in, you're able to pick out were there any biases within. It depends on how but we're looking into that, and there will be a training to the Pharmacy and Poisons Board staff to apply these tools. So yes, quality assurance scheme, I believe, is an added advantage. It gives you some way of improving the system, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And in way of parting shot to our audience today, what are some of the challenges you've experienced as an RA person, and how did you navigate this? And probably there are individuals in the audience today who are looking at Dr. Mbwiri and saying, how do we get there? How do we navigate through early career, be able to be part of AMA, and be able to consult as well? Just in your own words.
The first thing I would say is that always stand by your decision. Stand by your decision, and there must be justification. You must have good justification for every decision you make. You must have a backing, and you stand by it. The next thing, do a lot of networking, because it's because of first the knowledge, the way of decision making and networking that I find myself where I am here today. And yes, I can tell you, you can rise anywhere. Right now, I'm transitioning now to the United Nations. I'll be working with the United Nations full time. So you can see, you can move from, remember I moved from hospital all the way to where now I am going. So anything is possible. It's hard work. Never give up on anything. If you find something is hard, keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. And I've learned it the hard way, including my PhD research, whereby my projects failed for 4 months. I kept on doing it, and it ended up being an invention. So keep on doing it. Many failures make you, you learn more, as you make mistakes, you learn more from those mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's congratulations on your transition. We're excited for you. We are curious to know what lies ahead in way of, would you continue to still contribute in this space? What can we look forward to with regards to Dr. Mbwiri and his impact in the current space, even as you transition to?
I'm always available. I'm available whenever you need me. I will be available to assist.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you see your role also affecting the region in any way at the moment?
I've done a lot of impact in terms of mentoring people. So I've mentored people at Farmers and Poisons Board. I've mentored a lot of at the EAC, and I believe also at the continental level. I hope to see, and I can see already, there's a lot of change in the ways our systems have really improved, and I can see PPB being maturity level 3 by early next year. And thanks to the work that we've done for quite a number of years, because it's a process. It's not something that you get immediately. It's a process, but it's, by giving knowledge, because you can only act intelligently when you have the right knowledge.
Thank you. And you've mentioned something around, do not be afraid to try, especially if it's hard. I keep saying that the next time you're trying, if you try and fail, the next time you're trying, you're now trying with experience. So those are very insightful and very encouraging. And we have a lot of congratulatory messages from our audience as well, wishing you all the best, even as you venture into the next step. As African Pharmaceutical Network, we are very grateful that you accorded us your time, your wealth of experience and knowledge, and look forward to future, even more collaborations in that regard. As the regulatory affairs space, for those of us who are in it, we definitely take pride in your wealth of knowledge and your impact to this level, and look forward to even more, even with regards to your mentorship to those who venture into those spaces. So we are very grateful, and thank you so much, Daktari. To our audience, we are also very grateful that you made time to be with us today. It is our hope that you managed to grasp a thing or two from the wisdom that Daktari has shared. I would also be able to give you insights into making decisions around what it is you want to do with your career, where you want to progress. As he's mentioned, make a decision and stand by them and back them with having bad decisions that are informed. So we are hoping that as African Pharmaceutical Network, we've enabled you to get access to this information. I have seen David has already posted in our chat. Feel free to follow us on our LinkedIn. Feel free to also check us out on Twitter, and we'll be able to share with you a little bit more. I should add that this recording will be available for your viewing and for your listening to after this. So we would be circulating it, provided you registered for the webinar session. We'd also work with the team, the fellowship at APN, to be able to accord you and award you your CPD points accordingly. David, I do not know if you already posted the feedback form in the chat. Please feel free to do that. For those of us who are looking to become APN members, we are currently accepting membership into our body, and you feel free to check out the chat and just fill out the form to become an African Pharmaceutical Network member. We'll be rolling out cohort 2 of the regulatory affairs training sometime in August. If you would wish to be part of that or get a bit more information on the same, please feel free to reach out to myself or reach out to our African Pharmaceutical Network email, the fellow email that you see at the bottom of your screen. David, if you could share the feedback form so that we wrap it up. And Daktari, I think at this point we would release you, and thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Daktari. All right, so the feedback form is in the chat. feel free to give us feedback. We want to be able to engage with you a lot more and improve the subsequent